The following program may contain strong language and mature content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everybody, happy Wednesday and welcome to She Is Shenomenal. I am Tasha Champion, your host today and always teaching you to love the champion you are. And today you're actually going to watch an interview that I did with Crystal Morganfield. She is the CEO of TLC Senior Services. This is a very important show to watch today because all of us, we are all going to eventually take part in some type of care for the elderly loved one in your family, whether it's your mom or sister or maybe your father, your auntie, whatever. We all tend to have a family member that we take a part in caring for. And that is what Crystal is going to be chatting about with us today, why she started her own business and what are best practices. So you definitely don't want to miss today. But before we do that, I want to share something with y'all. So most of you, if you follow me, if you know me, you know that I am like extremely spiritual and I don't move without God and I pray about a lot of things, but I'm not religious. I do not confine myself into a box of religion. I focus on building my relationship with God, okay, which I think is the most important thing outside of all religion. I'm currently caring for my mom. Great. Thank you for joining. This is going to be a great show for you to watch. And I was supposed to be on a podcast I was asked to be on. And after the person, I'm not going to give the name, I'm going to be respectful. But after the person did the pre-interview and she did ask me if I was Christian. And I explained to her, I do not confine myself into a religious box because I believe that, you know, across the board, all religions can have something good. All religions can have something bad. The important thing is to build a relationship with God, which is what I do. And so she was like, okay, that's fine. And the conversation was a lot deeper. And then later on, I got an email. She did invite me to the show. And then later on, I got an email that said, unfortunately, she wouldn't be moving forward. She was canceling and did not want me to be on her show because her audience are Christians. And after reviewing my website, she found things that pretty much they would not align with because I do chakra balancing, I do crystal healing, I do intuitive healing, I do card readings, I do energy readings. Like I have a level of different modalities that I use in healing. Here's the thing. This is Tasha Champion's gift from God. This is what I do. So whatever religion is not okay with that, I'm okay with it. But understand that God works through us in so many different ways. He delivers messages to us in so many different ways. So when we confine ourselves to only one way of connecting, we're really limiting the possibilities that we can have in life. So I wish her well. I wish her audience well. I ain't gonna lie, they missed a great opportunity because I'm pretty fun to interview and I drop a lot of nuggets. So he said, "Oh, child, she thought you were the devil." Yes, she did. I really think she did. But you know what? God works through me in different ways. And to find that out, you have to know me. So, whatever. It's all good. And we just gonna keep on moving on, and I'll be on shows that people want me on. All right, so I just wanted to share that with you guys because sometimes there's so much judgment around religion, and then there's less talk about your actual relationship with God, and God communicates through us and to us in so many different ways. So my suggestion, don't limit yourself into like one box. Open yourself up to receive messages that God is going to bring you in so many different ways. All right. Okay. So we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, you guys are going to watch the interview that I did with Crystal. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here live, but it was too much information to not have her at all. So yes, we did the pre-record and you get to watch it. She drops a lot of nuggets. So stay tuned. We'll be right back so y'all can check out this interview. All right, we are back, and now you're going to get the opportunity to watch this interview that I did with Crystal Morganfield. She is the CEO of TLC Senior Services, and she's going to chat about that and all the things that you should be aware of when you are ready to take care of that elderly loved one. Check it out. All right, we are here with Crystal. Crystal, thank you so much for being a guest today. How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I think this conversation that we're about to have is much needed, and I appreciate you being on to share your experience as well as your expertise for our senior citizen community because I feel like because I'm like this with my mom. Like I understand that my mom is in her 60s. Sorry, mom. You don't look it though. But it does like I think about, oh my gosh, she's gonna actually get older. I think about that with my aunt and my uncles, and I'm like, they're gonna get older one day.
It happens so fast. It's like one day you just wake up and it's here. You're like yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
And I do feel like we're not always equipped with the right language, the right understanding of what we need to know, be mindful of, be aware of when these times come that they're in the hospital, that they are going on hospice, that they are going on home health care. And so just to start, because we're going to have a full-on conversation, but to start, tell us a little bit about you and how you got into the healthcare field, especially with our senior citizens.
It was kind of by chance that I started doing the job. I just wasn't working at the time, and I got an offer to do kind of like a really easy I want to say like entry level, didn't really have to have any experience type of thing. It was kind of like companion care, older dementia patient needed someone through the night, to help them go to the bathroom. Okay. So that was it. That was as far as I had to, be experienced in going to the bathroom. That's all I had to know how to do was, okay, help somebody go to the bathroom. So it started from there and it just progressed. Every case got deeper, you know what I mean? And I had experienced, my grandmother, before had passed away, and she had went through hospice, and I was 17 years old, so I really didn't get it at the time. You know what I mean? And then I got introduced to it, and it just progressed from there. I saw the need. You know what I mean? I saw that people were truly grateful. You know what I mean? A lot of people, they need that. They can't afford to stop working. They can't afford to get on the freeway and drive 2-3 hours to their parents every time. So, they need us. I saw the need for it. It was a constant need for it. Once I got the first one, it was just like, it just was like a snowball effect. So I saw the need, and then, I ended up dealing with it in my personal life as well. So it was like, I was just put in the right place at the right time. I feel like it just kind of,
and thus your career was born.
and here we are, today. 10 years later, here we are. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So let's go back to that moment at 17, and you are with your grandmother in the hospital. You have all of these doctors speaking medical language and saying things that you didn't understand, maybe the family didn't understand. What was that like, and how people do that all the time?
I had no idea what was being said. I was 17. Everything that was being said went over my head. The word hospice was thrown around. It was used quite a few times. I didn't know what that meant. You know what I mean? It was a word that I knew it had something to do with a hospital, because it was, the same prefix. So I was like, okay, the hospital. She's going to a fancier hospital. They're going to give her better care, and she's going to come home, and she's going to be better. That's what I thought. You know what I mean? I didn't realize that hospice is end of life care. That went over my head as a 17-year-old. I didn't realize that this was the last time, I would be with her. I didn't know that. And I think that today, a lot of people still don't know that. And when you're in the hospital and these doctors are talking to you, they're talking to you like you're on their level, and you know what they mean. And a lot of times people don't know the simplest thing, like hospice. When I say hospice, that's end of life care. And people don't know that. They still think that their loved one is going to come home. They think when they say, oh, they get to come home, that they get to come home because they're getting better. Like, no. Hospice is the choice. You could either do it at home, or you can go to a facility and have it. And a lot of times, the patient, the elderly person, is the one requesting to be at home. They don't want to be around a bunch of strangers. They don't want to be in a facility. It's cold. They want to be at home in their bed, and they're in the comfort of their own home.
Around love.
And there's the need. You know what I mean? And a lot of times people they don't understand what it means, and they don't know how big of a deal that is for them to come home, with end of life care. It's a 24-hour job. It's not like you can still just check on mom after work. You know what I mean?
Right. How many families are actually equipped, in your experience? How many families would you say are actually equipped to be able to bring their loved one home and facilitate that level of care until that person's transition? Are families equipped?
That's already prepared and have the knowledge and it's non-existent. I've never come across a family that was ready and knew the steps and knew what I've never come across a family that was just on top of everything and they were ready and prepared. You know what I mean? They have to figure out finances at that, because you don't think about this type of stuff until it happens. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't think about it until it happens. And now you have to make, life-changing decisions on what it is that you're going to do. Are you going to put out take out a second mortgage on your house? Are you going to, are you going to cash in? What are you going to do? Do you have anything you need to cash in? You're going to sell something? What are you going to do? And they're faced with the decision as it happens. Nobody really comes prepared for it.
So speaking of like the financial aspect of it, because we all know medical care in the US is already like so substantial. It increases by the day, really. Like it's so high. So when you talk about the financial aspect and you're saying like people have to take out second mortgages to help with their families, how much stress do you see this put on families when now they're trying to figure out, okay, this is my mom or my grandmother and I want to give her the best care, but financially I can't afford it. And what if you don't own a home? What if you can't take out a loan? What does that mean to families? Let's talk about that for a moment.
I mean, it's a life-changing situation that you're in now. You know what I mean? And sometimes it'll break a family if you guys aren't, prepared and not in agreement with the next, course of action. Then you forever have an issue there. I've seen that. I've seen, kids that don't come around, or kids that, don't want to be involved, or don't care to, know who's taking care of their parents, or
Wow.
who's in the house, who's in their parents' house. Some of them don't care. Unfortunately, it's the reality. You know what I mean? I've been in it for 10 years. So I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, and that just finances put so much strain on your family and relationships, and sometimes you don't mend that,
Right.
after that's unfortunately when your elder passes away. Sometimes that's it for that relationship with your family now, because they
Right.
didn't handle things like you felt like they should, and you guys couldn't see eye to eye. So
Got it.
that's
So
it.
if we take out mortgages, if we take out families who have not planned for this type of maybe hindrance in their finances to take care of a loved one, what type, and I know it varies from family to family, but on average, what type of monthly fees are we looking at? Because I want people to begin to prepare for this for themselves and their families now before it gets too late. So just on a monthly basis, and again, I understand every situation is different, but on average, what type of financial obligations should people be prepared for in these situations?
You want like a rough monthly figure on
Yeah,
what you would spend on care and like medical equipment,
right.
hospital beds, whatever. Because if you're on hospice, a lot of that stuff is free.
Okay.
They provide a lot of those things for you, because it's all about your comfort. So
Right.
whatever it is that makes you comfortable, they'll provide it for you. So it all
Okay.
kind of depends on that. But I would say roughly, if you're going to pay somebody to come in and be a caregiver, if you can't be there, you need a 24-hour caregiver. You know what I mean? It's you're talking 24 hours, maybe we'll just say 5 days a week, because we'll just, imagine that the family's gonna come in on the weekend. So you need a caregiver 5 days a week, 24 hours. And you're gonna pay, on the low scale, you're gonna pay $500 a day.
Wow.
So I'm gonna give you what's that, like 21 days a month, 500 a day if you're doing 24-hour care.
And there's some people that don't make $500 a day, or let's say that they do, but you're taking care of a family member, your bills and you maintaining your lifestyle, that's still a
Once,
factor.
once
That
again, life-changing decisions are being made here.
yeah,
This is gonna set forth, the next phase of your life. What the fork in the road. What are you gonna do?
right.
That's what a lot of people are faced with, because they never thought that far ahead.
Whoa.
So
I am
yeah,
like,
so I'm saying that if it depends on what company that you're dealing with. A lot of it depends on the level of care that you need. It depends on a lot of things, but I'm just giving you a low end
and
on
if
what they're
that's a
going to
low
be paying.
end, we have
That's a
to
low.
really, really
That's if
get prepared.
you find a company that has a 24-hour flat rate. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? If you're getting a company that's charging you per hour, you do that math. You do
Right.
that math.
Right.
Because it's going to be about 600 or better per day. So you do that math. You just, as I said, that's the low end. That's if somebody's
Oh,
trying to work with you, and but some companies, don't really have a face, and it's like, this is the price. This is it.
wow.
Either you
So
got it or you don't.
do you feel like families need to think about providing the care and learning how to care for that family member to help decrease the cost? Or it's like, you know what? These are the professionals. These are the people that know what they're doing when they step into your home to take care of this family member, figure out the cost or prepare for the cost. Like, what do you think are the best practices when you get put into this situation? Because we're all going to get there.
We're
So,
all going to have to deal with it at some point.
mhm,
I think it just depends on the level of care and your availability if you can physically be there, I would suggest, you physically be there if you can be. It's your loved one, and if these are their last, this their last time here, you want to be there if you physically can be there.
Right.
That's number one. You want to be there, even if you do have to hire somebody to come in, to do, the dirty work, or as I'll say, to do that, then you still want to be there. You know what I mean? So you want to be there. And I'm also, with my business, I also would like to offer, a training for the families who can't afford, who can't even begin to afford, $300 a day. So it's like, I would offer training for those families. I would come in and spend, a few hours a day for maybe a week or so, just to walk you through it and let you know what it is that you need to be doing, and tell you what you need and what you don't have, and how, just how it goes. Because like I said, once again, the hospital is not stressing what's really happening. They're not stressing what's really about to happen. They don't prepare you for that. They're just like you said, you're like, oh, my mom's coming home. They're not preparing you for the 24-hour, job that you're about to have. It's like bringing home a newborn baby at this point.
Right. At a much heavier weight.
A grown newborn baby. So I offer a service where I can come in and show you, how to change a diaper, something that you never thought you would have to do. I can come in and show you how
to shower someone and bathe them.
How to bathe. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Sponge bath or whatever it is you're going to do. I'll tell you exactly what you need to buy, what you need to have, what's going to make it more convenient for you to provide, the comfort care. Because at this point, that's all you're doing is comfort.
Right.
But we offer, all levels of care. So it could be a person who's 85 and they live alone, and maybe they just need help with meals, or maybe they just, need a ride to yoga or something, or maybe they just want somebody to come and talk to them, or it's all levels of care that come with it. So we go all the way from just companion care all the way to hospice care. What I mean? And
now let's talk about that care. I'm sorry, go ahead and finish that before I ask this question. Go ahead.
I was going to say, sometimes we start out as companion care. I started out because you needed a ride to your chemo appointments, and you're not strong enough to drive. So I started out just doing that for you, and now the level of care progresses.
Right.
You went from needing me 6 hours a day to now you need me 12 hours a day. You know what I mean? Now you go from needing me 12 to now needing me 24. So I saw you in all the stages, all the last stages of your life. We didn't even know that we were beginning the last stages, but that's what it ended up being. Wow. And luckily, he was prepared. He was prepared for that. He was one of the ones that was prepared. He was ready.
So what I want to ask is, like, in terms of safety, is there something that families can do to make sure that the person they're bringing into their home is not going to take advantage of the senior citizen when no one else is around? Like, are companies doing background checks, or is this just an easy job for people to get into because it's a senior and they're not going to tell somebody? Like, what are some ways that families can really make sure their loved one is going to be safe with this person?
I mean, families are encouraged to do your own background check if you want. You know what I mean? If you're coming through a company, you've already been background checked, and you've been. But if the family feels comfortable, if they would like to on their own, they feel free to, conduct their own background check and find out what it is they tell. And I encourage them to have cameras. You know what I mean? Ring camera, baby monitor, whatever you want to have in your home, you know what I mean? That's going to ensure that the person is there doing what it is that they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I would suggest. Do your own research. Find out who's in your house. Come talk to the person. A lot of times, come talk to me. You know what I mean?
Visits.
Yeah. Don't tell them that you're coming on every Tuesday and what time you get off work. You show up. And be involved. be involved, because I feel like those are the people who sometimes get taken advantage of, or the people who don't really have anybody looking out for them. You know, you're putting a lot of these people are putting all their trust in a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
You know, believe it or not, I've been that for people before.
Wow.
Like I said, this guy, we started out companion care, but I ended up being his person. You know, he didn't have anybody, and he trusted me with everything, and he got lucky. You know what I mean? That I was who I said I was, and I did what needed to be done. But it's a risk. Everything is a risk, and even if somebody's background is clean, who's to say? They're on hard times this week, and now things are different. So now they're doing things differently. You never would know. But I say, come talk to these people.
Don't just leave them in the house.
It's nothing worse than being on a job and the family doesn't visit, or the family doesn't care to meet me. I'm spending 40 hours a week or more with your loved one. I'm their biggest influence. I'm the biggest, I spend the most time with them than anyone. Right. You don't think you want to have a conversation with me,
and you experience families not coming to me and talk to you.
I've been with a hospice patient. I was with her for about 6 months, and I didn't meet her kids until the week she passed away. Until the hospice came in and said, she got about a week left or something like that. Then that's when I met the kids. That's when they showed up. Never talked to them on the phone. None of that.
Jeez.
And I'm in their house, in the middle of the night.
Taking care of them, and no one comes.
Yeah, I'm on the list at the guards gate. I'm on the everything. I'm the person, and you didn't even take the time to want to have a conversation with me.
Wow. Let's talk about the preparation of care long before we get to this, okay? Because I'm sure you've seen families who have, that mother, father, grandmother, whatever, whoever has everything listed out exactly how it should be, exactly what needs to be done, how things are going to go. And then you have that family where it's like they have nothing. How important is it to sit down as a family and prepare when this time comes, what we need to do, what's going to be done, how it's going to be done? How important is it for people to plan this level of care?
It is imperative. It is very, 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 very important. Because like I said, you have already prepared for this. You're ready. You guys made all the decisions. All the paperwork is in place. You decided who's going to be. We decided who's going to be power of attorney. We decided already who's going to make this decision. We decided that we need, mutual. Everybody has to agree with this before anything happens, or somebody is usually appointed as the the head person to make the decisions and things like that. But you have to be willing to sit down and have that conversation. A lot of people don't want to do it. A lot of people are uncomfortable doing it. Whether it's they don't want to speak things, and however it is that they look at it is something that they avoid. They don't want to. Yeah. But it's very important.
Well, like Mika Morris said at our brunch, no one's getting out of this alive. So you might as well.
No one. So let's get it in order. You know what I mean? Okay. It's very important. It's very
right.
important.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Crystal's new business and how her business is going to help families with their senior care of their loved ones. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, awesome. Welcome back. We are still talking with Crystal Morganfield. She's been in the healthcare field, taking care of our elderly loved ones for 10 years, but essentially over 10 years, because you always start before you actually start. Now, Crystal, we've had in the first half of the show, we've talked about like the care, the things that hospitals really don't advise you of. We've talked about how to make sure the person you bring into your home is actually is safe for your family members. But now let's get into your business and what made you step outside of the box and say, okay, it's time for me to now be the CEO of elderly care. So let's talk about that. Give us the name of your business and what brought this to fruition for you.
Okay, so the name of it is TLC Senior Services. And like I said, we offer all levels of care, from doctor visits to companion care to, hospice to whatever it is your needs are. And I got into it, the way I explained how I got into it. I kind of just like stumbled upon it, and I ended up, liking it and seeing the need for it. And the company that I had been working for, it was just that I was really hands-on with everything, and I kind of saw, different ways that things could be done that would be more effective. Being that I was hands-on actually in the home, I got to deal with the families a little bit more, and I started seeing, little things that could be different. To make a business run better, more professional, things like that. So I just decided to do it on my own because I was like kind of being the face of, the company that I was working for, but, it wasn't my company.
Right.
And, I was just like, well, I can do it for myself then. If I can do it for you, and I can help you get, I help you from the ground up, then I can do it for myself. And it's just, just one day I was just like, I can do this, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. I have enough experience, I can do this. And
wonderful. Well, congratulations for that, because becoming an entrepreneur is always a big deal, and we definitely want to be supportive. So tell us, like, what areas do you currently service?
What areas, as in physically, like geographically, or IE for the most part. There's a lot of senior communities and things like that in IE, and I also have people in LA area that that I have that are ready to work in that area as well. But predominantly IE is where it all kind of started for me, though, because it's I've been in over 10 years. I worked in 20 55 and older communities now. So, that this is where that's where it is. So, but I know that there's a need for it in LA as well. So I do have caregivers in LA
that can provide services.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. And I love that, because our senior community is kind of the forgotten community. I worked in healthcare for several years, and I saw that. I've seen families come in that are completely hands-on, that they are, on top of things. They're making sure the doctor is explaining things where they understand it. And then I've seen, families come in and they're almost like letting go of the wheelchair, like roll yourself on in. So I think that it is really important. And I love the fact that you are taking that step to say, hey, we have to provide a higher level of care for our senior community.
Yes.
Because families do essentially need it. Now, when you look at a caregiver, because I think this is helpful to those that are watching as they prepare for their own family members, what are some things that you look for when hiring a caregiver to send out to someone's home? What are some qualities, backgrounds, experiences? What are some things that you look for that maybe other people should as well?
Experience is always a plus. I want to know, what you've done, whether it's an experience. Experience can be anything. Experience does not necessarily mean you have done this job before. With this job, it's a lot of common sense. It's a lot of basic things. So maybe you didn't have a job as a caregiver, but maybe you sat with your grandmother during the summers. maybe you helped her, maybe maybe you've done that. So I want to know everything that you've done that's going to apply to the job that you're coming to talk to me about. I want to know everything you've ever experienced in life that will apply to this. Because a lot of times you're being prepared for something before you even know what you're being prepared for. Exactly. And that's how it was with me. I heard these words and I dealt with this vaguely at 17. You know what I mean? For it to come around full circle. And now I understand. And now, you know what I mean? And I want to help other people kind of understand and be prepared. But I would say just have a conversation with the person. The most important thing that I look for in a caregiver is your bedside manner, if you will, the way you communicate. There's a way to say things. Mm-hmm. There's a way to, you know what I mean? There's a way to communicate with someone with respect. Yes. With respect. You know what I mean? Because they're elders. So, but essentially you're taking care of them. They kind of have to listen to you, but there's a way to do things. Mm-hmm. Don't be disrespectful. Keep in mind, who you're talking to. You're talking to someone's parent, someone's grandparent. Speak to them like how you would want somebody to speak to your people, to your family, to your loved ones. So that's really important, because you can be the best at what you do. You could, cook the best, oatmeal, or you can do the best whatever. But if you don't know how to talk to this person and you're constantly, demeaning or belittling them or talking down to them or condescending, then that's not what I want. That's not the type of people that I want to represent for me, because I'm really big on respect, and that goes a long way for me. When it was my grandmother in the situation, I didn't want anybody to come deal with her. I was like, no, we don't. I'll do it. You know what I mean? I'll stop working. I got it. I'll do it. But I was prepared for that when it happened. By chance, I was prepared for that. I didn't know I was being prepared for that when I was being prepared for that. So I just so happened to be there when it was time. And a lot of people don't get that opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a big person on taking your experiences to then develop and help someone else, because this is not an easy part of life. But again,
no, it's not
getting out of here alive. So we have to be prepared.
They talk to me and they're like, how have you been doing this, for so long, and you don't get attached to your patients, or you don't, because I'm like 80% of the time I'm there for end of life care. You know what I mean? And I've had a lot of patients that are no longer with us. You know what I mean? It happens on almost 50% of my jobs or better. You know what I mean? That's how they end. And they're like, well, how are you, not, and how does that not affect you? And I'm like, because I'm here for a reason. I did what I was supposed to do. I did right by that person, and it was their time. And I was able to, help them be comfortable and help them. I feel like I've done my job. I don't feel bad. Right. I don't feel, you know what I mean? I don't miss the companionship. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like I'm placed there for a reason. I'm here to provide a service for you. Right. And you know what I mean?
Now, we've all heard horror stories of how a senior or elderly patient is being cared for because they can't communicate or they can't fully express what's going on. So this is a two-part question. So number one, have you ever come behind a caregiver where you're like, holy crap, this patient has not been properly cared for, and what did you do? And Definitely. Then two, in the absence of, like, let's say when the home health person goes home, what are some things that a family should look for with their family members to know if they are properly being cared for?
Definitely, you want to pay attention to, how they look and what marks are on them, and what you want to look for, that kind of stuff. Because if somebody's being rough, or somebody's, older people tend to bruise pretty easily, you grab them too hard, you just pay attention, you'll know. But pay attention to their demeanor when that person is in the room. Pay attention to if they, maybe feel like they're scared to say something, because I have come behind a caregiver who was being rough with one of my patients, and she didn't want to tell me.
Wow.
She didn't want to tell me. I had to make her tell me, because it was like, I'll come in one day, she had a broken nail. Okay, no big deal. She had a broken nail, but then the next day, she, had a bruise here. And I'm like, what's this? She had like fingernail marks in her arm. Fingernail, because the lady was grabbing her really hard, digging her fingernails into her. She had fingernail marks. She was missing nail, and I was like, "What's happening? What's going on? Like, I move you this way. Oh, ow! What's wrong? What's happening? It was, she's like, well, and I can tell she wanted to say something, and she didn't want to say it. She's like, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. She didn't want to get her in trouble. And I understood that, but at the same time, you're not going to sit here and just suffer because you're trying to, save somebody, or you're trying to. That's not right. She doesn't,
because there's nothing to tell if you're doing your job correctly and with care. There's nothing to tell.
There's nothing. So, yeah, she didn't want to tell me, but she ended up, finally telling me. And this is when I was working for a company, so it was, of course, up to me I had to, talk to my boss. And, let her know exactly what was said and, what I saw. Took pictures and I sent them, and they handled it, however they're going to handle it.
Right. So families really need to make sure that they are just kind of scanning over the body, seeing how the person
scan over their bodies, and do not feel, any type of way if you want to have cameras in your home. And if I feel like if you have cameras in your home and then the caregiver has a problem with that, to me, that says a lot. It's a red flag. It's you know what I mean? Because what's the problem? I encourage you to have cameras in your house when I'm there. I encourage it. I want you to see. I want you to be able to, go back and look and see for yourself. Everything is, as it's supposed to be. But, I've even come across people who are like, yeah, I had the caregiver and she kept turning the camera. She kept turning the camera this way.
Wow.
Like she would face the camera at the wall. I'm like, yeah, she couldn't work for me. She couldn't work for me like that, because what's the problem?
Right. Wow.
It was like, oh, invasion of my privacy. Like, there's no camera in the bathroom. There's no camera,
you're at work. It's not private.
Camera, facing my mom's bed. What's the problem with that? And she didn't want to be on camera. And this was a friend of mine who had this caregiver they were hiring for their loved one. This wasn't even a job that I was on. This was a personal experience. And when they told me that, I was like, yeah, that don't sound good. I don't like how that sounds, because what are you hiding? What can I not see? You know what I mean? So I really encourage that. I really think that it's worth it.
I love that, because it is. And a lot of people do feel like, oh, is the camera going to make someone uncomfortable? But that may be
I wouldn't care.
Finding out how your loved one is really being treated. So you're right. Like, you shouldn't care no more than if you have a nanny with your baby, you're going to want a nanny cam somewhere.
Yeah, I wouldn't care how it makes you feel. And to me, like I said, if it does make you feel away, then to me, that's a red flag for you.
Yeah.
That sends up a really big, you know what I mean? A really big alarm off. Like, okay, what can I not see? If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing or what you're trained to do, then it shouldn't be a problem with me. You know what I mean? Wanting to see for myself. But
now, Crystal,
that's all I would say. Pop up, be there, call.
Right. Check in as much as you want and as often as you should.
Yeah.
Crystal, let's talk about what happens when, let's say, there is an allotted financial amount that is supposed to be given to this family member. And now the family that's in charge of that financial allowance is changing things. What does that mean for
they have a change of heart?
Yes. What does that mean for the care of the family member?
Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do, because 9 times out of 10, this family member has already signed paperwork, had a lawyer, a notary. They've done everything that they need to do. It's their decision to make.
Yikes.
You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you want to say, oh, I'm on the paperwork, but my mom or my dad makes the decisions. But no, that's not how that goes. And I've even seen kids manipulate their parents to make them believe that, they don't need this level of care. I've seen it. I've seen it in my eyes. He passed away. I mean, they he took out a second mortgage on his house, you know what I mean, of upwards of, $400K or so that, was in the hands of his chosen son, the one that he had the most faith in, that was going to do the right thing. Wow. And then I was witness to this. I ended up being witness to this. I had to sign, and, I had to be involved in this to make it happen. So I knew exactly what was happening. I saw the paperwork, and, next thing you know, son is pulling up in a brand new pickup truck. You know what I mean? And then next thing you know, son is out of the country. Things like that. And then they want you to cut hours now because now, dad doesn't need 24-hour care. He's strong enough. He can. Dad, you're strong enough. You don't need that. You're good, Dad. You don't. Yeah. So, and of course, the dad wants to be strong for the son. That's his son. The son's looking up to him. Manipulating, this 90-year-old person's mind to believe that they only need 6 hours of care per day.
Is there anything that can help with that? And I know, like, legally, once you sign, this is what we're like, this is the person that's in charge, and this is what's going to happen. Like, because who do you report that to? Like, can you report that as elderly abuse when technically they're not being physically abused, but are they being financially abused? Like, is there any way around that when you see that happening?
In my experience, no. I have never come across a situation where there was anything that could be done. Like I said, this, I've watched them be manipulated out of their care because the kids are seeing the money, go pretty fast when you're paying for a caregiver. Money can go pretty fast when you're paying a caregiver, like that. So the kid starts weighing out, if we keep going like this, it's only going to be this much money left. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, that man passed away three months later after we stopped working with him. He passed away, and I truly believe he would have lived a lot longer had he had that companionship. Because not to mention, he had a wife. We were doing them as a couple. We were taking care of them as a couple. The wife was on hospice. Wife passed away, in the living room right next to him, and it had been his wife for 70 years or so. So it was hard for him to even live without her. And then now you're taking away the companionship that he did have from us, coming in every day and doing the things that his wife used to do for him, washing his laundry and preparing his food and doing his shopping. And you convinced him that he didn't need that.
Oh my gosh. Listen, now when we see our elderly community not being treated fairly, not being loved on properly, we instantly go to, oh my God, but that's your mom, and or that's your dad. And I'm not saying in this particular situation, but we see this a lot. But sometimes, do you ever wonder, like, if your child is treating you like this? Obviously with that particular situation, it seemed like more of the greed, but have you, when you see families that are not all involved in a very loving, nurturing, caring way, does that make you sometimes wonder, how was this person as a mom growing up with these children? Like, does it ever make you question, I said mom, but I mean mom, dad, whoever, does it ever make you question within yourself, like, damn, were they a good parent growing up? Is this the reason why your kids are not really caring and being?
The funny thing about that is, I've thought that a couple of times, but in most cases, the kids will let you know. You'll know what their history is because they'll tell you.
Okay.
They'll just flat out tell you what it was. They're because they want you to know who the people were before you came. For when they were a regular person or when they were still capable of, they want you to know how they were. So they'll tell you. And the ones that don't come around, I kind of just assume that one of you guys got an issue. I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's the parent or the kid, but there's an issue somewhere when they don't come around. But they'll tell you, they'll give you the rundown. Oh, mom used to be this. Mom was a teacher. Mom was they'll let you know what their occupation was, how they were. Mom raised 11 kids. Mom never cursed. They'll tell you. They'll tell you. who they are. They'll tell you.
And do you see a disconnect in those who had like what we would call a great mom versus those that don't? Do you see that the children really be different, or do you see that sometimes children will try to hold on to whatever part of their mom they can, good or bad?
But it goes both ways. It goes both ways, because some kids are, in denial about what's happening. Some of them are still, some of them are in denial about what's happening. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
It just depends.
So speaking of denial, is there anything that the home health support can do to help that family member work through that denial that this is happening? We don't know how much time, but your family member is going to transition into their eternal life. Like, is there anything that you guys do as home health supporters, or anything that families can do to help with that denial?
I've seen hospitals and hospice companies offer counseling.
Okay.
Offer therapy for that. And us, there's really nothing, I mean, we can just kind of, like I said, I can just kind of be that bridge and kind of try to, but it's really nothing that you can, what can you say to somebody?
They're not ready.
Process things their own way. So, sometimes it doesn't matter what it is. It can make all the sense in the world. If someone's not ready to receive it, they're not ready to receive it. But yeah, like I said, I've seen, and this is hospice. I've seen hospice. I've seen this type of care from both sides. So I've been the client, you know what I mean? And it's been my loved one. Right. I've been the caregiver caring for your loved one. I've seen hospice from both aspects. I've seen it as the client. I've seen it as the actual, I'm helping with the hospice. So I've seen it from both ways. And
I'm going to ask you this, because I was with a friend whose grandmother was transitioning. Hospice was there. She had 24-hour care, 2 different nurses, 12 hours at a time. And when it really was down to her final moments, it still seemed like she was trying her best to hold on. And one of the things that stays with me to this day is the nurse said, you guys have to let her know it's okay for her to go. How important is that for a family member to look at their loved one and say, it's okay, I'm going to be okay, you go ahead and go if you want to? How important is that?
It's very important, because I've seen it. I've seen them hold on. I've seen them hold on. And the family member leaves and they don't want to leave, because they're like, look, I don't want to leave. And then, she goes or whatever. And it's like, look, you have to go do what you have to do. You got to live your life. She's holding on. And 2 hours later, she's gone. They left. A lot of times people, in my experience, I've seen a lot of times people, sometimes they're waiting to see certain people. Sometimes they're waiting to, get a certain visit or a certain conversation or a certain feeling. And more times than not, that helps them. That helps them let go. That helps them. Yeah. It's like, I mean, more times than not, and on a personal level and on a business level, I've seen it. I've seen it happen both ways. It just so happened now you've seen all the family. Maybe the next day now you feel like you're free to go.
You're free to go.
Saying the words is actually important. I've had them, reassure them that as well.
Right. Yeah. So, that just always stuck with me, because I had never been around anyone who was in the process of transitioning. And when that nurse said that, it just really, really stuck with me. And literally, when her children, grandchildren, great grandchildren gathered around her, held her hand and said, it's okay, you can go, like, we're all going to be fine. It's like that last breath just escaped her. And it was a very beautiful transition, in my opinion. And so that's why I've said, like, how important is that? Because I know as children, as grandchildren, we want to just hold on. Sometimes that person is ready.
With my grandmother, it happened like that with my grandmother. It was like the last Sunday that we all just so happened to end up, everybody was there for some reason. We didn't plan it that way. It just so happened that we looked up and, all the important people were in the room. And, next morning she was out. She was gone. I think she was just waiting on that. She was waiting to know that it was going to be okay, because her as a matriarch was leaving a lot of things, up in the air for us to worry about and take care of. And once she saw that, I think that gave her some solace.
Right. I love having this conversation because next week we are going to have a financial strategist that help families plan this part of their life, plan long-term care. So that's why I was very specific with how we had this conversation, so you can understand the good and the bad, and what it's like to actually plan out long-term care, so that you're not taking out a second mortgage, or you're not trying to figure out how things are going to be taken care of. So I really appreciate you being on today, giving us the good, the bad, what we should look out for, what we should be mindful of, because at the end of the day, again, none of us are getting out of here alive. So the best thing that we can do is to make sure we are prepared as much as possible, and that we know what we can do. So with that said, again, thank you. But Crystal, tell people how they can reach you, how they can connect with you if they need to learn more about your services, if they need you to come into their home and teach about elderly care, so that they can do it. Like, give us the ways that our guests can contact you.
Okay, so as of now, since I'm still in the beginning stages, I can be contacted via email at TLC Senior SVC Senior Service at gmail.com. And whatever concerns, or whatever, anything they want to ask, or they can contact me there for now. Beautiful. We will have other, platforms and things available coming soon on the website, and everything will be coming soon. But like I said, I'm still in the beginning phases, so I haven't got, everything taken care of just yet, but I can be contacted that way as of now.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again on using your experiences to now become an entrepreneur and be able to help so many families, all the families that you will continue to reach. I'm really, really proud of you, and just look forward to people knowing who you are and knowing how to care for their loved ones through TLC Senior Services. So thank you, Crystal, for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You are Shenomenal.
As you are too.
All right. Thank you. All right. How was that? That was just so much information. Crystal, thank you so much for giving us your experience, for sharing your knowledge, and for just really being a part of the senior citizen community, because what you are doing is so incredibly important. And you really do it from a beautiful heart space of love, which is needed for our elderly community. So thank you. All right. We will be back next week. We'll be talking with Anne-Marie Anderson. She's a financial strategist. We're going to be talking about how your money can really work for you, and how to start building wealth within your family. So you don't want to miss it. She's going to drop a lot of nuggets and tips, and really just some easy, practical ways to increase your wealth within your family. So I'll see you guys next week. Have a beautiful and Shenomenal week. Bye.